Hey folks, it's Lindsay Alyson back in the building. Another SPSEdge podcast with Mr. Cameron Bell, Esquire. We're over here at the Motor City Smoothie Company, 13222 East Jefferson in the Riverbend Plaza. Shout out to Chuck Bailey, the proprietor. But I am here with Cameron Bell, Esquire of the Oliver Law Group. Cameron's been doing some great things, giving us some great resources. But Cameron, let's just talk about, I won't even say what's happening right now, but what had been happening over the past few weeks, pretty much at the end, leading up to the election. We've been seeing the issues with police brutality, the Black Lives Matter movement. We saw what happened in the NBA bubble. We followed all that. And here we have you, our resident attorney, who has a history and background in dealing with police brutality. Now, as I was riding in today, I was happy that I wasn't uptight or upset by seeing something on the news that reflected black men like you and I being shot and killed, unarmed black men being shot and killed, etc., by police officers. And I will just say, the reason why it's a problem for police officers is we have an expectation of accountability.
That's correct.
Because when somebody in the hood shoots somebody, it's expected something will happen to them too. So with that being said, educate me from a legal standpoint. One, the challenges or not that come with dealing with police brutality. What your experience has been dealing with that.
So obviously, I'm sure people kind of get a general sense of what's going on from watching the media and everything like that, and just all of the other news breaks that comes out when it comes to black people's interaction with the police, right? So the standard in order to actually sue a cop is a very high standard to get passed. Number one, the basic negligence, quote unquote, that you have to get past in order to even get into a potential chance of suing them is something called gross negligence.
Not negligence, but gross negligence.
Gross negligence.
Right.
And gross negligence is basically the way to look at that. Most government officials or any type of person that's affiliated with the public health or anything, a lot of times the standard that they have to get past is gross negligence. So what that means is that's basically over and above something that they're not supposed to do. Now, when you start talking about the way that it's how that's interpreted, you start getting into things that police officers have, which is called qualified immunity.
Qualified immunity.
Exactly. So, they have a whole different kind of immunity that makes it very, very tough to sue them. And imagine, how many cases that have been thrown out in the appellate level as well, where they say nope, qualified immunity
couldn't meet the standard.
Exactly, it doesn't meet the standard, so stuff gets dismissed. A lot of times, you'll see charges not pressed against these cops, but then on the other end, you'll see them get sued civilly, right? And that's another thing to take into consideration too when you're talking.
So when they're getting sued civilly, are they being sued as individuals and not as a representation of the municipality they work for?
They are being sued as a representation of the municipality that they work for. And then you sue them individually, but at the same time, the money is not actually coming out of that police officer's pocket if you were to actually win your case. That money is coming out of taxes. That money is coming out of the government and everything. So
just what's the difference between a civil suit compared to, what would be the comparison of a civil suit compared to what? Because that's
a criminal suit.
Yeah, the criminal suit didn't win on that. I'll sue them civilly. And for those who are watching, help us understand what that connection is.
So, of course, when you start talking about a criminal case, that's something that's being brought by the prosecutor or the DA or some sort. And the burden of proof in a criminal case is obviously beyond a reasonable doubt, right?
Sure.
So when you talk about a civil case, it's completely different, right? You have somebody that's actually suing on their own behalf for their own damages, and then the burden of proof in a civil case is preponderance of the evidence, right? So that is preponderance of the evidence is basically 51%, 49%, yes, no. You know what I mean? So a lot of times it's a little bit easier to try and sue them civilly, but then at the same time, they still have immunity, which keeps them, it kind of keeps that threshold from being crossed that would allow you to get into damages. You know what I mean?
So when we see things, and the only reason I bring up the thing about police brutality is that so many things happen that don't make it to court. And you know, if you get pulled over, and I can't say that it's happened to me personally. I must say I have been able to navigate pretty well. That doesn't mean I get a sticker. That don't mean I get a star on my forehead and I get a prize. It's just other black people like me, look like me and you, don't get that. So what I'm trying to say is that if you experience something where police put their hands on you, police, you know, do you really wrong, you know, physically abuse, you know, verbally abusing, all these things, and it just doesn't meet those standards, what are people kind of left with?
Yeah, man, it's super tough, man, right? Because, I mean, if you get pulled over, you want to comply, you want to be able to go home.
What do you do when you get pulled over?
When I get pulled over, I mean, you best believe, number one, all my tags and all of that kind of stuff is straight. So, you know, people ask me all the time, why you don't get tint on your car? And I'm like, look, man, to me, tint gives them a reason to want to pull you over. Even if your tint is legit, you know, they're not going to know that until after they pull you over. There's nothing that gets certified on your license plate that says that you can have tinted windows. So
they don't know anything special about you prior to coming up to your vehicle. All they see is tint.
Exactly. So, I mean...
And officers don't like tint.
And officers do not like tint.
Yeah, understandably so.
Yeah, so, I mean...
What do you do to ease the officers' potential tension between them getting out the vehicle and approaching yours?
Okay, so yeah, number one, you want to make sure all of your stuff is straight. You make sure you don't got no warrants. You make sure you don't have any type of outstanding tickets and stuff that makes them...
And let me just stop you right there. Mm-hmm. Only because I had a good friend of mine, Randy Henry, shout out to Randy, he has a presentation he does, and I remember him saying that, and I said, you know what, that makes so much sense to start with being in order. Mm-hmm. And I like the way Randy put it, because it wasn't judgmental the way he said it. Because the same thing you said, some person can say it, they can sound judgmental, but the first fact of the matter is, like, hey man, if you can have your stuff together, that helps.
Exactly. And I mean, that's one less thing that you got to worry about.
But then again, I will say this, you know, it's hard trying to piece all that stuff together sometimes.
For sure.
You know, if you get behind on this, then somebody tell you, well, don't drive.
Right. What's the real, and that's the thing.
I gotta get to work, I gotta get my baby, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, you know.
Yeah, no, it's super tough, right? So I guess the goal would be to try not to get on that type of path, like, you know what I mean? I understand, you know, the insurance and stuff is high, but when I get pulled over by a police officer, by the time they get to my window, I'm already looking for my insurance and my registration, you know what I mean, and my ID and all of that. So by the time they get up to my window, for the most part, I already have that ready, you know, to go. Here you go, you know. So if I'm getting a ticket, then I'm getting a ticket. But the things that lead to escalation a lot of times is, you know, people, number one, you're not really in the position of power right there on the side of the road when you're dealing with a police officer. So why escalate it, right? They are the one that can legally shoot you and get away with it. You know what I'm saying? So real easy. You know what I'm saying? So why make it more difficult than what it needs to be, right? It's already a hostile situation getting pulled over as it is in these times.
I think what happens though, Cameron, I mean, and you and I say this as brothers who come from the city, been able to navigate. I mean, me and you probably can go to our blocks right now. We probably won't pull up like that, but we can navigate through.
Right.
But, you know, it's like it's a power struggle, man. It's almost like when that police officer comes over and they are definitely in a position of authority, all the issues where I felt, quote unquote, inferior or felt less powerful, whether it was at my job, in my relationship, on the court that day, all these things are coming to a head. And then there's this opportunity for it to kind of blow right there, you know, which is in many cases, I don't know who you can blame anyone on that. It's just life. Because even with the police officer, and I'm trying to say these statements in a very unbiased and objective way, he could be having a horrible day. Right. But as comedian Chris Rock say, you know, every job you could have bad apples. Exactly. Like, you know, police officers and pilots. Everybody got to be on their best. You know, it's like, you know, and then they say so many times, well, I'm just trying to make it home. Well, hell, I am too. But you chose to put that uniform on. Exactly. You went through that training, etc. So I don't mean to digress, but I just want to talk about that moment when you had this encounter, and here's someone like you, you're very well versed, you're an attorney, my goodness, you know the right things to say. Do you find yourself engaging the more or less?
I would say less. I mean, because me personally, I deal with cops enough, you know what I mean, when it comes to, just, cases and stuff like that. So I don't need any.
Yeah, you deal with them in even a less hostile environment, so you have more of a familiarity.
Exactly. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I do agree with Chris Rock, they're not the type of, profession or job, that they should have, bad days and be able to take it out on somebody. Like, that's completely wrong. But at the same time, I want to minimize my interactions with cops, period. Right? So, I mean, that's really what it boils down to.
And this is coming from an attorney. And I think I want to make sure that our listeners and viewers are getting this part. I'm saying that even upstanding, articulate African American professionals, yourself and myself, we don't even want to deal with you, right? Because this is what it's gotten to. Because we've seen scenario after scenario to show that it doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
So let me limit the time. So I just feel for the brothers and sisters who are out there, and they have to use that moment to take a stand.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it, but we just do not need any more of our brothers and sisters getting killed out here by police. I'm not saying just stand down and not have any respect for yourself.
It's tough.
But understand in that moment, 9 times out of 10, you're not in that position of power, and if you kill them, that's first-degree murder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
no question.
It's
cop killer on the run. They're looking for him.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just, to me, it's not worth the gamble. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, the first step is just making sure all of your stuff is straight. If all of your stuff is straight, then you'll.
But even then, somebody's gonna say, "Well, man, my stuff was straight," and they still gave me the business. But that's when they call you. Call right 800-771-6689.
Yes, sir.
Say, I need to talk to Cameron right now. Can't talk to Christopher right now. Can't talk to Alyson. I need to talk to Cameron.
For sure.
Well, I just say that, man, because it's so great to be able to have someone that can be a resource. I must admit, just staying on this subject for a little while longer, I can remember almost every encounter I've had with the police, and I think things that I've done, I've tried to do subtle things and be proactive to get it to work in my favor, and I'm just going to see what you think about that. One thing I started doing when I get pulled over, especially between here, Detroit, and getting back home to Lansing, even though I'm a proud Detroiter, man, if I get pulled over, I pull all the way over.
Yes, sir.
I make sure that I give them a lot of room in between what's right there, the highway, and almost pulling myself off the road. I don't look at it as humble myself. So look, man, I'm trying to give you room to be safe.
Right.
So I think that's one thing. Also, being a legal gun owner, I think what works to our favor is that when I put both my license and my CCW card out the window, it won't let them know I have a weapon, but it also lets them know, okay, this guy is about protocol and following.
Exactly.
And I think that limits my interaction. But,
100%.
But sometimes that window of opportunity presents itself. I had an older gentleman who probably is retired now. He was a state trooper, Cameron. He came up to the car, older white guy. What you got your hands out the window like that for? I said, excuse me, what you? He said, you don't need to do all that. I said, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Nah.
And I remember another scenario. This is not far from where we all grew up, but this was on 8 Mile near the Ferndale area, and I was speeding.
Yeah.
I was speeding. I know. That's you. I was speeding. I was shooting right down there, and the police officer pulled me over. And he said, man, what is going on? And I just fessed up. I said, look, man, I'm sorry. I was a little behind. I was trying to get to this event. I done messed up. And I was mobbing, too. And he looked at me. He said, man, I'm going to let you go. Because me just being honest right there, I think the worst scenario, you would tell all your clients, don't say this. What'd you put me over for?
No. I tell all of my clients all the time, number one, be honest. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, look, now if you in some deep stuff and you riding
got bodies in the truck and all that, like, I can't help you.
That's a little different. We talking a different.
If you call them there, ain't no free consultation. You got to come with the bag.
Yeah. Let's get right to it. It's a big bag of stuff.
20 pounds. Ain't no consultation. You got to come on in.
Yeah, come on in with get ready to sign that return.
Exactly.
But it's not worth. It's just not worth all of the extra stuff. But at the same time, you just want to make sure that all of your stuff is taken care of. So when they do come up to the car, that you're not, like you said, you already got your your CPL, you already have your license and all of that stuff out. But at the same time, understand they are in the position of power right at that moment because they pulled you over for a reason. And at the end of the day, you want to be able to go back home, and if you got a family, you want to be able to go back to home to your family. A ticket is just something you can pay. You can pay a ticket, you know what I mean? Or if you get pulled over with something, I mean, there's a lot of different things that me being honest has gotten me out of tickets multiple times. Right? You know what I mean? I've had a couple scares, you know what I mean? Even in my time of coming up. And me being honest has gotten me, quote unquote, a break in those kind of situations, right? So, and then it's, just kind of go back to the Monday motivation video that you posted earlier, and you were talking about worrying. That is another thing that I always tell people, and it can be legal advice, but at the same time, it's just kind of general life advice, and I'm just piggybacking off of what you were saying because it's super great advice, right? Do not worry about things that you cannot control. If that's a waste of space in your body, that's a waste of energy, that's a waste of mental stress. We got enough to worry about in the times and everything that we got going on right now. So why be worried about something that you cannot control? So it's the same thing when you're driving. You know what I mean? If you can control your tax being straight, your insurance, you got all your paperwork, okay, good. You're controlling that. So if he's pulling, and then you can control how fast you driving too. I mean, I'm not saying, look, I drive, I drive like anybody else drive or whatever, but at the same time, you got to know what you're dealing with. So if he does pull you over and you were speeding, chances are, okay, you just say, okay, if you admit, I mean, I've had a time I got pulled over in Sterling Heights one day. I'm flying down mine. I'm going 60. It's 50 miles per hour. I'm flying 60. Cop pulled me over. I pulled over. He's like, do you know how fast you were going? I'm like, yeah, I was going a good 60.
I was punching it, officer. I was getting it.
So he's like, all right, since you were honest with me, I'm gonna give you your driving record is good and all that. I mean, some people's driving records are, atrocious, but at the same time, he's like, your driving record is good. I'm gonna give you this. You go and get the impedance, pay the little fine, and no harm, no foul. But yeah, not worrying, worrying about things that you cannot control. I mean, I think that's just one of the silliest things that we all get caught up in doing sometimes. And it's like I said, it's tough, but it's just about that training. It's about that mental discipline to be like, look, I can't control that, but what I can control is how I present. So when I'm ready for that situation, I can, attack it with full throttle.
And I think what we've done here with this, discussion we're having, we're giving people tools that they can use that they may not have thought of, things as you said, I have said, that can be helpful. But what I want to do to kind of crystallize this point, I think what we come up to is this. It's really about an issue of power.
Yeah.
Who's going to get the power? And at the end of the day, the law enforcement person needs to believe that they have the ultimate power, because the power of making you be honest. Because when you like, look, man, y'all was speeding, my bad. Oh, okay, so now he's telling me the truth. I have power. And I just hope and pray that I've had times where I've been in a certain space in my life that come and go, whether it's issues in your relationship, issues at your job, that encounter is when you feel less powerful, and it takes you to be in a very good space to be able to give that to someone, as opposed to them taking it. And I just hope and pray that, brothers and sisters alike, can always be in good spaces to do, like you say, to defer to them as much as possible. So in the event that they are showing some gross negligence in their actions, just call Cameron Bell and he'll get you that back. You know what I'm saying?
Or if you get a ticket in which, you might need to get lowered down, holla at me.
That's another thing too, because why is that beneficial? Because you don't want those extra points.
Exactly.
You want to do all that.
You don't want your insurance to go up. Insurance is already super high. So, I mean, your best bet is to try and, maybe holler at an attorney. Even if you don't. See, now, one more thing, too. I'm not that attorney that's going to be, I will literally give you that free consultation. If you ask me a question, I will follow through and answer that question for you. I'm not the type of person that's extra pushy, like, oh, you need to pay me. No. If you want to retain me, you know where I'm at. Okay? I'm at Oliver Law Group, 1647 West Big Beaver Road.
Get it.
Yes, sir.
I'm right down the street from Somerset.
Yes, sir. If you want to go to the mall after you get done with me,
we can do that.
Too,
well, it's always been said, man, you want to have a great doctor and accountant, also a great lawyer. You got a young man in Cameron Bell over at the Oliver Law Group doing great things. He's my personal friend. I wouldn't have him on this platform if I didn't think it would be great. And I think we've done something really good today. And all the people I've interviewed and all the people I've talked to, from coaches to players to other influencers, having you as a young attorney who was so cosmopolitan. You know, Cameron can be anywhere. He can be, at a high-end event with a bow tie on, or just low-key kicking it with the sweats on like we're doing it now. And I think that's really important for people. And then also, too, talk about, your desire to create a practice that's not just transactional, but, transformational, and that you build clients that you can, build a relationship over time. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh man, I mean, I've had clients that followed me from when I was at the previous law firm to over here. I've always just wanted to focus on multiple areas of law. I never wanted to just be kind of narrowed down to one area. Yeah, there may be an area that I might do a little bit more. I mean, you might hear me talk about my criminal cases a little bit more because those cases are a little bit more fast paced. Your civil cases are a little bit slower, but I've always wanted to just be able to grow with the times and everything, and just be able to take on new challenges. And I think that's the biggest thing that drives me to stay in different areas and stay in different lanes and be able to still want to study different areas. I mean, I never thought I would be doing product liability.
Yeah, I saw that.
Suing pharmaceutical companies and, federal, I would say probably 95% of our caseload at our firm at Oliver Law Group is federal. So a lot of our cases have still been ongoing. I mean, I would argue that we're probably more busy now than we were before COVID.
Wow, because of the consistency of these cases over time.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's one thing that Alyson has shown me is that you can be diverse. You can, you can make money in multiple different areas, and you can be, multifunctional in your approach of everything. So, I mean, I've experienced all different kinds of things since being there. We've done like radio ads. We've done actual like TV ads. We're actually getting ready tomorrow. I'm going to be taking a photo.
Okay.
And we're going to be putting it in the Oakland County Bar Association magazine. Me, her, and Chris. We're going to take a picture, and it's going to be in there for a year.
Oh,
we
man.
talk about all the different referrals and stuff like that. So get your copy of the Oakland County Bar Association magazine. We'll be in there. But yeah, just being able to be diverse, man. I mean, I never wanted to just do one area. I mean, I always wanted to be like, yo, Cam do this too.
Sure,
like,
sure.
Call Cam,
sure.
or even if it's like, let me call Cam because I know Cam knows, people.
He can get me taken care of. He can be an intermediary.
Yes, sir.
Well, I like what you said earlier too about you following through on your passion with sports and looking at NBA representation. I mean, hey, you talk about SPS. We don't have that plug. You know, so I mean, just to talk about something that can be manifested here on this platform right now,
for sure,
go for it, brother. Because if you do that, you'll be the first one who can sit down and reach out to these future stars that you can help. And I think one thing people miss out, they always assume that if your name wasn't called the other night in the NBA draft, that's the end of your career. There are opportunities overseas.
No, sir. Exactly.
There's opportunities in all different aspects of
so
that.
Much.
Hell, even the coaches have representation.
Oh man, it's crazy. I mean, you really don't, when you start talking about the grassroots level and the fact that there are so many different opportunities and windows in order to make an impact, even if you're a basketball player, even if you are a basketball coach, if you're a basketball executive, there are so many different areas, and there's ways you can strive to be better. If you're a coach, you could strive to be an NBA coach. You could strive to be a D1 coach. That. You know what I mean? If you're, of course, we know with the actual basketball players and some of the things that they strive to be. There are so many different areas, and I mean, honestly, me working in a law firm has kind of made me realize that this stuff is way bigger than I even imagined before. And it's like the type of person that I am. I like to make sure that I've got all of my ducks in a row before I take on the next thing. So I've been tackling everything that I've been doing now. I've been like, let me make my imprint here, but I haven't forgotten about the fact that is my dream job is to be a sports agent one day. I want to have an NBA client, and I want to be able to sit courtside at the All-Star game or something like that. That would be ideal or something.
Let me correct you on one thing you said. You said client singular and not plural. Clients. All right?
Yes, sir.
Courtside. Hey, you ain't got to tell me. Well, with that, guys, this is Lindsey Hudson with SPS, sitting here with Cameron Bell of the Oliver Law Group, doing a great job, a fantastic job. You can reach him at 800-771-6689. Offices in Troy, Michigan, as well as Dallas, Texas. He can provide a free consultation. He's over there with a great group, referring to Alyson Oliver, as well as Christopher Brown. No, not the singer, Christopher Brown, the Canadian. It's close, but that's the same game. So I want to thank you for being supportive of everything. Your support for SPS helps with the Monday motivation that you talked about. Today's topic was, work don't worry and wait don't hate. We're also going to have the SPS podcast taking place this Thursday. Actually, we're going to do it on Wednesday because Thursday is a holiday. And then on Saturday, man, because of you, you're going to be able to help us as it relates to promoting the Michigan State versus Northwestern game. So I appreciate that and all that. Yeah, we got to better hook you up with Coach Mel Tucker, too. I'm sure he's somebody you want to connect with and vice versa. Sure. So with that, guys, Lindsay House, I'm out. I got Cameron Bell in the building. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for your support.
Peace.